Adelaja here from Kyiv, Ukraine. I'm continuing my series, the series we are doing presently, which is a very, very life-changing series, very, very crucial, important series. It's called Understanding Suicide, Mass Shooting, and Depression. But the topic of today is how to know if you have a thought disorder or a distorted thought. How to know if you have a thought disorder or a distorted thought. This is important because when it comes to suicide, you don't have suicide without some distortions in your thoughts. So every suicide you could think about, starts with some kind of thought distortions. Same thing with depression. Depressions don't just happen. You cannot just be depressed without torturing thoughts before then. So before you are diagnosed of depressed or with depression, or before you get into that state of depression, there have been some thoughts. Everything starts with our thoughts. So it is when the thoughts become overwhelming, and when we could not deal with ourselves on the level of our thoughts, that is when it takes us more down to the black hole, and to the dungeon of depression. So if we want to prevent depression, if we want to deal with depression, we've got to know how to begin to deal with our thoughts, and to examine our thoughts, and to be able to see and process and examine the process and the way and the pathway and the path of how our thoughts has led us to the path of depression. I will not keep on repeating myself about what leads to depression, who is susceptible to depression, and what are the factors responsible for depression. I've already spoken about them, but things happen in life that make us to think. And we all think about different challenges, different issues in life because we live real life. You cannot and not everybody know how to cope with their thoughts, and especially when you have traumatic or stressful experiences that lead to that. So sometimes it could lead you to thoughts that in a way that you cannot even control. So in psychology, some people call it cognitive distortions. So in therapy, they will call it cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's cognitive behavioral therapy that they call it. So it's cognitive distortions, and So what is cognitive distortions? Cognitive distortion is when there are some errors, there are some imbalances, there are some disorders in your thinking process. You might not notice it, but even if it is not concerning you, you could notice this in your children, you could notice this in your family members, you could notice this in your spouse, that there are some errors, there are some imbalances, there are something not normal in the way somebody thinks. And we are going to examine today, maybe tomorrow or so, what are the errors and the distortions that could happen in somebody's thinking process that will lead to depression, and even lead to suicide, and lead to mass shooting. So we are going to examine this kind of thinking process, the distortions. When you begin to notice the patterns that somebody begins to think that way and reason that way, you just know that, oh, this is dangerous. This could lead to a big problem. So it's important that we will learn to recognize those distortions, that we will learn to recognize those disorders, those errors in thinking of people around us, even of our own selves. So how do you know if your thoughts are distorted? Let's have a look at this photograph here. So that is it. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy. So you see, thoughts, what we think, affect how we feel and act. It affects our emotions. What we feel affects what we think and act. And behavior, what we do affects what we think and feel. So that's the whole concept of it. That everything starts with your thoughts, it gets to your feeling, then comes to your behavior. Under breath here. So I'm going to be showing you and helping you to recognize some of the cognitive distortions that could happen to you, to your family, to your children, to people around you, or some cognitive behaviors, distortions that you need to notice in other people. Distortions in their thought process, distortions in the way they think, distortions in the way they reason. There are a lot of people walking around us that are depressed or that are suicidal. There are some of them that are even having mental issues because of their distorted thoughts. And some of these people are, influencing other people. Some of them are married, some of them are having children, some of them are having friends, some of them are workers, some of them are having people who follow them. So there are cognitive distortions that must be recognized in people's thoughts so that we'll be able to help them and we'll be able to help ourselves. So I would like you to pay attention to the cognitive distortions we are going to be talking about of thoughts, so that you will be able to identify for yourself, do you have a thought disorder like this, or does anybody around you that you relate with have such thought disorders and distortions? Okay, let's go to the slides now. The first cognitive distortion is called filtering, like filter. How does this work? This involves focusing on negative aspects of a situation and filtering out positive ones. For example, you read the notes or a comment on your Facebook comment. So you read a note or a comment on your Facebook comment. Let's say Facebook something. There are 100 comments. 99% out of 100, 99 are positive comments. But then one is negative. So filtering, the distortion that is called filtering, the disorder in thinking, will make you not to notice all the positive. And instead of you to be happy about the positive, you will be more concerned about one negative. That is a problem. That is a disorder. Or somebody, maybe your mother or your father, they have been good to you. In a day, they have shown you 10 signs of love. But one caution or correction that they give to you, make them to look bad, make them to feel you are bad, make everybody is bad. That's a problem. Meanwhile, you forget about the majority positive. The majority positive comments, the majority positive attitude towards you, and you just focus on one. It means that person is having mental health issue. It could lead to big depression. It could lead, besides depression, it could lead to thinking that everybody hates me. Everything is bad. You're only seeing bad things. It could lead to psychiatric problem. It could lead to schizophrenic situation. It could lead to not just depression, it could lead to schizophrenia. It could lead to psychiatric situation, insanity. And of course, it could lead to suicide, because when everything is bad, everybody just saying negative in me, you don't want to live anymore. It leads to hopelessness and suicide. It could also lead to mass shooting, because when you're filtering all the good ones out and you're only seeing negative ones, you think everybody is bad. So everybody is a suspect. So if it gets to the extreme of it, you want to kill everybody, you want to shoot everybody out. Most people don't really go to the extent of shooting people and killing everybody, but you have killed them in your heart. They are all bad. You've killed them in your heart. It's still the same thing. Because of what is called filtering. You filter away the good. But the real way it's supposed to be is for you to filter away the bad. Not completely, of course, you have to balance things, but it's even better to filter away the bad. But when people are really having issues with their emotions, with their soul, when the soul is sick, they filter away the good rather and attach themselves to the evil, to the bad, which makes them to see the whole world in that color. They make them to see the whole world as bad and evil. So that's a big problem. That's number one problem of people who suffer from depression. They start with like that, the thought process. And this is also the same thing for a lot of people who suffer from schizophrenia. Okay, let's go to the second point. The second thought disorder and thought distortion that people have. Very similar to the one I said earlier, but this is a bit different. This is seeing the world in black and white. Either they are all bad or they are all good. So if you see something bad in somebody, most people just say, okay, that person is bad. No, you have to learn to see that, no, that is good. The fact that somebody is your enemy doesn't mean that everything about that person is bad. The fact that somebody did something wrong, okay, like right now, I mean, recently, there was this situation with a pastor in Nigeria, a pastor in Abuja, Nigeria, who was involved with rape. As horrible as rape is, the way you see the response and attitude to him now, as if everything about the guy is bad. Yes, if he did that, if he really did the rape, he's a criminal and he must go to jail for it. But even while he's in jail or when he's convicted as an offender, that doesn't mean that every particular thing, every single thing about him is bad. No, there are some good things about the man. That's why he was able to attract so many people to his church. So we shouldn't just use one little thing or one big thing or one aspect of somebody's life, especially the negative aspect, to judge them in every other area. Don't condemn somebody just or to the totality of the person just because of that one negative thing in their lives. But you must be able to, a healthy person must be able to see both the positive and the negative. Even when you see the negative, you must also be able to still say, okay, yes, this person is bad in this. He's a rapist, he's a criminal, he must go to jail, but he's a good, for example, leader, or he's a good father, or he's a good dresser, at least. That guy can dress, yeah? But you have to be able to acknowledge the good things in people. Don't just condemn them. You know, it's a bit different from filtering. This is black and white. For example, a lot of people in my country see the president we have right now, his name Buhari, as because he's a Muslim and because he's Fulani, so there is nothing that could be good about him. He's just bad, that's all. There is nothing he could ever do right. That is psychiatric situation. That maybe not psychiatric. It's a sickness, and there are countries where that is the way the psychology is. That's the way they reason in all things. That's the way they see life. So the whole country is sick because they see things only as good or totally bad, as totally good or totally bad, black and white. And that is a sign of sickness. It's a sign of the sickness of the soul. It's a sign of distortion in thoughts. It's a sign of disorder in people's psyche and people's soul. So black and white thinking, all or nothing kind of thinking, it makes you to think it's all or nothing. With this type of thought, there is no middle ground. You are either on one side of the spectrum or the other. For example, you score 90% on a 10-question test. You see yourself as a complete failure, even though you got 9 right out of 10. You scored 9 out of 10 and you still see yourself as failure. It's all or not. It's absolutism. So this attitude of black and white, can you find my book, The Law of Difference? I have a book that is called The Law of Difference. Will really help you to cope with that. The Law of Difference. And there is also another book I have, The Danger of Monoculturalism. That is another good one that will help you. The Danger of Monoculturalism and The Law of Difference. Please look for those 2 books. Look for those 2 books. They will really help you to cope, to stop seeing the world in black and white, and to stop, seeing the world in terms of all or nothing. All or nothing. Now, all or nothing might not be totally bad because it makes you to be purposeful, to be goal-oriented, to be an excellent performer, to be an absolute person, to be a perfectionist. But it has a bit different from black and white thinking, because black and white is good or bad. So you could still be all or nothing in terms of ambition, in terms of goal orientation, being goal oriented, but you should still combine that with the ability to be able to balance things up and be able to see, all the colors rather than just black and white. So this book will really help you. This book here, The Law of Difference. Then what about The Danger of Monoculturalism? There is another one like that. There's another book this one, The Danger of Monoculturalism, will also help you to cope with this. Okay, let's go to the next thought distortion. Okay, let's look at this example now. A girl says, I'm fine, feeling I'm nothing to everyone. She says, I'm fine in the public, but really, he's feeling she's nothing, she's nobody. But this is more connected to the first point we made, filtering, and that's depression. So the next, number 3 thought distortion that we are going to look at today, that could lead to suicide, that could lead to depression, could lead to mass shootings, could lead to psychiatric situation, is this type of thought that is we call overgeneralization. Just generalize everything. Now, you might think that these are similar to black and white, but this is a bit different. This type of thought is generated by a single piece of evidence. You only have one single evidence that is thought to be true for all other cases. So you have one point, one argument, and you just assume that everybody is like that. It's just like saying you met one Nigerian that stole from you or that cheated you. You say, oh, all Nigerians are bad. That is overgeneralization. Or you saw a pastor that was accused of something, and you say, oh, if they have accused him, it means it's like that. Or all pastors are like this. So that is overgeneralization. When you overgeneralize, you tend to believe that when something goes wrong, everything is going to go wrong in a never-ending pattern. So this overgeneralization problem is also connected to you just seeing one sign of something and then assuming that is the pattern the thing is going to take. And overgeneralization like that is it brings stigma, and this is a mental health situation. Is a sickness of the soul when you overgeneralize and always just see things as and condemn people and things just because you have one evidence without looking at all angles. If you are not the type that look at all angles, if you are not the type that can give people benefit of a doubt, you will overgeneralize. But what will cure you of this is your ability to be able to give people benefit of a doubt, to be able to consider other aspects, other arguments, and to be able to look at things from different areas and angles. Some people will say if somebody is gay, it means that person is evil or bad. Maybe not in everything. Some gay people are kinder than Christians. Some people will say if you are a divorcee, or you have ever divorced, you can never pastor, you can never lead people, you can never be a leader. Anything can happen in life. The fact that somebody is divorced doesn't mean that you have to just totally reach a conclusion about that person. It's overgeneralization. Some people complain about pastors' wives. Oh, all pastors' wives are like that. It's overgeneralization. When you see people who are a bit big, you say, oh, all big people, all fat people are angry. Overgeneralization. Oh, all Americans are greedy. Overgeneralization. Oh, all Russians are like Putin. Overgeneralization. Oh, all English people are racist. Overgeneralization. And it's a psychological thing. It's a mental health problem. And this could get worse. And if it gets worse, it will get you to depression. And it will get not the people you are condemning to depression, but you to depression. And then it could lead to suicide. So let's look at the next one. But before we get to the next one, there's an example here. For example, you lose your job due to cutbacks. This is overgeneralization. You lose your job because of cutback and are convinced the same thing will happen at your next job. Overgeneralization. And every job thereafter. So you have come to the conclusion that you always, that's what, this is the kind of thing that pastors use. Oh, your sisters, you had 5 sisters in your family, 3 of them are not married. It means that all of you are under generational curses. Okay, you've been married for 10 years and you are not pregnant. It means mommy water spirit. That's overgeneralization. They are sick. These people are sick. Oh, okay, you are always having miscarriage. Oh, that means you have spiritual husband. That is overgeneralization. That means all these pastors who are saying that they are sick, they are psychopaths, they are narcissists, they are wicked people, they are sick people, they are not healthy. You cannot just overgeneralize like that. Oh, your mother died young, or your father died young, or your uncle died young. It means you are also going to die of cancer. Don't overgeneralize. Find the facts. Do your research and investigations. Okay, the next thought distortion that people have and thought disorder that people suffer from is jumping to conclusions. You jump to conclusions when you believe something is true without having any evidence to back it up. So jumping to conclusions, you jump to conclusions when you believe something is true without having any evidence to back it up. For example, you haven't heard from your friend and assume that this friend is mad at you. Your friend hasn't expressed it, but you just know they're angry. Jumping to conclusion is also a mental situation. And can I say that book? Stop blaming what you lack. That is also a mental situation. Stop blaming what you lack. Stop blaming. Just stop coming to conclusion. Don't jump to conclusion until you have facts. Base your arguments, base your conclusions, base your life on concrete arguments. not jumping to conclusion. Don't jump to conclusion that it's because of what you lack or because of what you didn't have. That's why you are who you are or where you are. Don't jump to conclusion that because of this thing that's happened before, that means that's what will happen. Base your arguments on facts and evidences. We are not supposed to live on assumptions, but on facts and evidence. Truth matters. You know, there is one of the books that I have. It's called Truth, Non-Truth, and Lies. And this kind of things could lead to depression and psychiatric situation as well. So the next one is catastrophizing. Catastrophizing. Here, you predict that something awful is going to happen. You expect to encounter the worst case scenario. For example, you have a role in a community play, and as you are about to go on stage, you think, I'm going to forget all my lines. Or I know something bad is going to happen. You are always catastrophizing everything. Oh, something is going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. I'm going to have an accident. Oh, I knew it's going to happen. That is a psychological, psychological problem. It could lead to great mental health situation. The next one is personalization. This is defined as seeing yourself as the cause of some negative external event. You blame yourself for everything. That's why that book is important. Stop blaming yourself. This is defined as seeing yourself as the cause of some negative external event for which you are not primarily responsible. For example, you are on a date that does not go well and are convinced that it must have been your fault, as opposed to the two of you just being a bad match or the other person's shared responsibility in the experience. You're blaming yourself for every bad thing that happens. Another one is control fallacies. These are all not normal. These are distortions. These are disorder in the thought process. Because as a man thinks, that is who he is. Control fallacies. This involves believing that you are a victim of an outside force. It is conspiracy theories, such as the universe or fate. You know, demons are after me, so family, generational causes, by grandfather, grandmother, control fallacies. You may feel you are being punished for something, although you did nothing wrong. For example, you lose an important document or something bad happens to you. Oh, it's the evil spirits that are responsible. It's the fathers that are responsible. It's the generational causes. You lose an important document and believe that the universe or some other force is to blame because you are cursed by something outside your control. You say, all the demons, all this kind of thing. It's a psychiatric situation. Control fallacies, thinking that something from outside of the universe, outside of your force, is the one responsible for what is happening to you. You know, it's a problem. And a lot of pastors are using this to, to put people in the bondage of their churches. Fallacy of fairness is the next one. What is this? You may feel like you are being unfairly discriminated against for some reason when things don't go the way you think they should according to your perception of fairness. This happens to a lot of black people. That's why you see black people getting into fights and into conflict, because we already have it in our subconscious that people don't like us and that people are discriminating against us. So you are always fighting for justice. You're always thinking that somebody is oppressing you, somebody is out to shoot you, to get you. It's fallacy of fairness. For example, the train is delayed, so you are late for work. Your supervisor reprimands you, and this dampens your mood because you believe that it is unfair that you are being blamed for a late train. So it's just, thinking that people are out to victimize you, that is, or discriminate against you for nothing. That is fallacy of fairness. Another one is blaming. This is another distortion of thoughts. This type of thought holds other people accountable for your pain. For example, you have an argument with your partner and blame him or her for making you feel bad about yourself. This is the opposite, thinking everybody else is to blame for your problem. Always blaming somebody else. That is very common. Shoulds. This is the thought that something or someone, including yourself, should be a certain way. A therapist once said, but there is some truth to this expression. Others call it masturbation. When you think you should do or be something, it's often because you feel like you are doing something wrong. This is the thought that something or someone, including yourself, should be a certain way. This thing should be like this. This thing shouldn't be like this. You should be like this. You are always seeing what other people, including yourself, should be like. You're always correcting everybody, what everybody should be like this. You must be like this. It's like a control freak, but not just these shoulds. It's not just controlling other people, but it's also putting the demand on yourself that it should be like this. You should be like this. When you think you should do or be something, it's often because you feel like you are doing something wrong, because you are always for perfectionists, especially a lot of perfectionists have this problem, and it could lead to a psychiatric situation. For example, you think you should do the shopping you've been putting off, but watch TV instead. Then you feel guilty about watching TV. So this should not, now it's different from correction. Your parents could correct you, your teachers, they should correct you. But this kind of shoulds is always blaming somebody for it, always condemning, making people to feel guilty. So you are making yourself to feel guilty sometimes, but you are making other people, you should have done this is how the thing should be, making other people feel guilty, making yourself feel guilty for it. Another thought distortion that could lead to psychiatric and mental health situation is emotional reasoning. This distortion occurs when you feel a certain way and assume that the feeling is a fact. For example, you feel scared while flying and become convinced that because you are scared, it must mean there is a problem with the plane. We can feel different things. Different things could happen, but when you allow your feelings to dictate reality for you, like emotional reasoning, you feel that person doesn't like me. That doesn't mean that the person doesn't like you. I feel that the way that person is looking is a rapist or is a thief. That's just what you feel. Wait till you get the proof. Wait till you get the evidence. I suspect that person, this is suspicion, always because of what you feel. Over feeling and over suspecting other people. Fallacy of change is another one. You believe that others will change if you want them to change. Bad enough. That's a lot of women fall into this. They want to marry. I will change him. Don't worry, I will change him. He will become my husband. I will change him when I become the wife. A person will change only if they want to change. You cannot change everybody else. But there is a change fallacy. It's also a problem. Because you want to change everybody. You begin to control them. You begin to run after them. You want them to be what you want them to be. For example, you are in a relationship with a substance abuser, and you are convinced that if you want sobriety bad enough for them, they will become sober. You cannot change everybody. You are not God Almighty. I'll give people the benefit of doubt. And I'm here today. So the next one is labeling. Labeling. This is the use of unhelpful overstatements to describe yourself or someone else, like I'm a loser or she's a bad person. Labeling, like that's what we have been speaking about, like stigma. You put stigma on yourself, put stigma on other people. Stigmatization is also a mental issue. It could lead to mental health issue. For example, you refer to your co-worker as a complete idiot because they made a mistake. So it's stigma, like saying you will never make it in life. You will never be different. That is also a problem. It's a thought disorder. Always be right. This is another one. Thought that your view is the only correct one. You never listen to other people. Other people cannot question you. They cannot ask you questions. You don't ask for arguments. You are always right. That is a thought disorder as well. Being wrong is not an option for people like that. For example, you get into an argument with a group of friends. You have a different opinion than you. You cannot fathom how they can all be so wrong. You are saying that you are the only one that is right. Everywhere you must be right. In every argument you must win. And that is also a thought disorder. It's connected to your personality problem. So did you relate to at least one or a few of these dysfunctional thoughts? Do you recognize them? Write about which of these thought processes you have a habit of engaging in, and how you might be able to turn them around. So, it's good that we have been able to expose this to you. I think we should all go through that list again. See the ones where you have weaknesses in and begin to work on yourself. But these books will help you stop blaming what you lack. The other book, The Law of Difference, then The Danger of Monoculturalism. All these other books will help you to be able to resolve the problem. But all of us have one. Everybody has. If you have not been working on yourself, you definitely have many of them. But personally, I had to work on myself concerning a lot of those things here to be able to be a better person. So if you want to make yourself a better person, go and work on each one of them. They will really help you to be another person, to be the ideal person that God wants you to be. Well, that will be it for today. To get my books, you can get all of them on Amazon. If you're in Africa, you can get them on dsabooksplanet.com, or you could write to my office to buy the books in bulk by writing to dssbooks@gmail.com. You can join my mentorship program by going to sundayadelajablog.com/mentorship. And you can also join our Nigerian team by going to sundayadelajablog.com/Nigeria. And it's been nice to be with you all. Thank you so much for your time. Peace.